Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Movie Nights Roundtable Live. It is me, Dalton Burdett, with the amazing Nick Aricchio. Nick, how are you, my friend?
Buddy.
Good. Glad to hear it. I am, just another day, another show. We got an interesting, fun show for you guys today. So, one thing that we're going to be doing, obviously, is we are going to be ranking the Mission Impossible franchise, as you can see from the thumbnail that you clicked on. But something else that we're going to be doing is just kind of going through, talking about some blockbusters, how we think they're going to do, and then, of course, at the end, the box office. So stick around for that, which is going to be always fun to get into. But something else I want to add first. If you are joining us for the first time and you want to participate in chatting in the live chat, please do so. I'll pop you up on the screen like I just did there. And it's always fun to do and to see with everyone and make everyone part of our community. So thank you for being here, as always. And with that down, let's get into it. Nicholas, what you got for me?
All right, so off the top here, I wanted to hold on. I have to log back into YouTube as it just booted me. Give me 1 second.
No worries.
So sorry, folks.
Listen,
that's where I had it.
your tech is messed up. I can't see anything on stream right now, so that's always fun. But I know it's happening. I know it's happening because I have the delayed feed over on my other monitor. So I know we're going. I just can't see shit. So this is gonna be fun.
It was literally one of those things. I have the list in Google Drive, and then immediately I went to reload the page and said, "You're logged out," even though I checked it right before we began. But that's fine. Um, So we are going to be breaking down all of the summer blockbusters that are coming out, and I thought it'd be fun to do a little game of will it or will it not make $1 billion?
Oh, okay. Okay,
So,
this will be fun.
so we're going to be starting out with movies that came out just this past week, and I think we go all the way through. I think the end of July is kind of where I cut it. Otherwise, we'd be here all night. And I tried to go with some of the big ones.
Of
So
course.
without farther ado, it's time for another edition or the first edition of Will It Make a Billion? Starting with Lilo and Stitch.
Yes. It will
All right.
absolutely make $1 billion. And just wait till you get to the fucking numbers that we have for that movie. Holy shit. Unless it suddenly takes an insane dive out of nowhere, absolutely it's going to make $1 billion.
All right. And with it, it's co-release for this week, Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning.
No, it will not make $1 billion. It might end up grossing, in the 800s, and that's if we're really being nice and being fortunate with it financially. But no, hasn't happened in the franchise, and I don't foresee it happening now, unless it literally increases next weekend, which is highly unlikely.
All right. And then Karate Kid Legends.
No, I don't think it will make $1 billion. I don't think. I can't remember what the 2010 one made. I don't remember it being close to $1 billion. And yes, Cobra Kai is a popular show, but that does not always equal box office revenue. No, it will not.
Okay. Next, from the world of John Wick, Ballerina.
No, I do think it will do really well. I think it's going to do better than people are giving it credit for. But no, I don't think it will get to $1 billion. It might get to half. Might. We'll see.
That would make it probably the most successful, right? In that
Likely.
franchise?
I think 4 was just under $500 million. I'd have to look again. It's been a while. But yeah.
Okay. Next, we have the live action How to Train Your Dragon.
Ooh. Okay. If it's good, yes. I'm going to give the caveat on if it's good, because people are obviously skeptical of live action remakes in general. I mean, Lilo and Stitch is doing amazing right now, but How to Train Your Dragon is one of those things where if the reviews come out and the reviews are terrible and it's a bad second week drop, I think all the momentum in that movie is going to die. However, from all the marketing, from the early tracking, it looks like it's going to be a very successful movie, and with the timing of the opening of Epic Universe and the Isle of Berk being there, shout out Hannah, who worked on Epic Universe in the Harry Potter land, but I think there's a chance. I'm going to say if it's good, yes, it will.
Okay, so leaning more toward yes on that one.
More towards yes.
Then we have the next Pixar movie, Elio. I think it's Elio.
I think it's Elio. Pixar can be hit or miss with $1 billion. I believe Inside Out 2 did $1 billion. I'm gonna go no, and I hate to say this. I'm gonna go no just because it's not an IP Pixar. It's a new original Is it Pixar or is it just Disney? Maybe it's just Disney. But
I believe it's Pixar. Will that change your answer, you think?
no, I don't think so. I think it'll have a bit of a struggle, just because a lot of unfortunately, in the times we live in with movies, if it's not IP, it's not going to get a whole lot of theater attention, let alone marketing. So I'm going to go with no. But I would like to be proven wrong. But I'm going to go with no.
It is in fact Pixar.
Okay.
And Inside Out 2 made 1.7 billion.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. I still don't think it will, but I would like to be proven wrong.
No, you're good. I just wanted to give you more clarification, more context on that one.
Yeah.
F1, starring Brad Pitt, directed by Joseph Kosinski, who did Top Gun Maverick.
I think Brad Pitt thinks it's going to make $1 billion. I don't think it will. And it's not because I don't think the movie is going to be good. I think it looks very good. I think it will, make some money. However, I know the budget was really high, especially from the delays due to the strikes. And I just don't feel like when Top Gun Maverick was coming out, you could kind of feel the hype and the energy around it of people being excited. I don't feel that as much with F1. I feel it. Like I feel like it's going to make money. Don't get me wrong. But I just don't feel the excitement that people felt that you would normally need to feel for $1 billion movie. And we're going to have to see kind of how that goes from here. I hope it does well. And again, I'd like to be proven wrong on all of these. I wish all of these movies would make $1 billion, Nicholas, but no, I don't think so.
Okay, I know the answer for this one, but I'm just excited for this movie, so I thought I'd throw it on here, and that's Megan 2.0.
No, it will not make $1 billion, but it will crush whatever budget it had, for sure.
And then we'll go next to, now we're getting to the good stuff here, Jurassic World Rebirth.
Yes, it will make $1 billion. Yep. Every Jurassic movie they've done since Jurassic World has made $1 billion. It's very strong in the international market, and the marketing for this film has been much better than the last film. And you have Scarlett Johansson, you have Mahershala Ali, Jonathan Bailey. I think you have all the makings of $1 billion film. And Jurassic has proven to be a franchise where you don't necessarily need to be a great movie to get to $1 billion. Now, they'll eventually lose the goodwill of the audience doing that, but especially if it's good, I think it's in good hands. I think it'll be fine.
I did not realize that every Jurassic World movie made $1 billion. That is impressive. Next up, we're going with the start of the new DC universe, and that is Superman.
Okay, let's make something very clear. I really want this movie to make $1 billion. I really, really do. I just don't think it will. Now, it has a chance to get close because I think something that they're really smart in doing with the marketing is including a lot of crypto. Crypto the dog, not the currency. And I think that by doing that, you have a lot of people who typically wouldn't even remotely look at going to see a Superman movie going, oh, look at the dog. Like, that'd be cute and fun to go see that movie. So, but I don't think that's going to necessarily get you the $1 billion that you need, especially just because people are kind of getting sick of the old DC, the bad will that it has. I hope it'll do well. I'm hoping it ends up in like the 7-8 range. $1 billion's a lot to ask for. Again, I would love to see it, but I'm going to unfortunately say no.
Okay, and then next up, we'll throw in another animated movie, Smurfs.
No. No, it's not going to.
And we'll end it with the Fantastic Four First Steps.
I'll do the same caveat that I did with the previous film. If it's great, yes. If it's great, yes. And if Robert Downey Jr.'s Dr. Doom is in the movie, yes. Because that word of mouth will spread and people want to go see what happens before Doomsday. Thunderbolts is really underperforming, which is a shame because I think it's a really great film. But like it's looking like it's not even going to hit $400 million. And while Fantastic Four has much more brand recognition than Thunderbolts and even Captain America, which I think it's going to do better than those films, I could see it ending up kind of like where I think Superman's going to end up in the 700 to 800 range. You need that extra kick to get to $1 billion. I don't know. I want it to. Hell, I want it to get to $2 billion. I don't know if it will, just because you still have some goodwill of the audience to win back with the MCU. But I do think it will significantly outperform both Captain America 4 and Thunderbolts.
Okay, so that is all of them. So just to recap, I gave you 12 different summer blockbuster movies,
Hmm.
and out of those 12, you gave me a definitive yes on 2, and 2 with an asterisk.
Uh-huh.
Uh, the 4 that you think will potentially make a billion are Lilo and Stitch, How to Train Your Dragon, Jurassic World Rebirth, and Fantastic Four: First Steps.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. And again, Lilo and Stitch might be recency bias just because I'm looking at the box office numbers as we're talking and they're absolutely insane. So
No, I can only imagine.
it could immediately drop off and stop making money tomorrow, but that just seems highly unlikely. So
Mhm.
yeah, that's where we're at. But thank you for that. That was a fun game. I enjoyed that. I enjoyed doing that. We'll have to do more of
I'm
those.
gonna save that note somewhere, and then come end of July, we can. Well, I guess probably more late August to see
Yeah.
if
Just laugh at me as how wrong I am about all these.
yeah. Well, I guess we could kind of go movie by movie, as they come out. Just post a periodic update.
Yeah, because here's the thing too, and here's the thing about Lilo and Stitch. I was pretty confident Minecraft was going to get to $1 billion, and it looks like it's going to come short. So you never know.
Oh, really? Is it toppled out?
Yeah, we'll get into it when we get to the box office portion. But yeah, I think it's done.
All right.
I think its time has come, unfortunately. But yes. Anyway, guys, thank you for indulging us in that. Just figured that would be a really fun thing to do. We'll see how wrong I am. I'm typically really wrong about these things, but like I said, we'll see. I hope all of them make $1 billion. They won't, but I hope they all do. With that, we are now, of course, going to get into the good shit here. We're going to get into our ranking of the Mission Impossible franchise. Nicholas, we love this franchise. It's a franchise that doesn't deserve. No, let me rephrase. This is a franchise that we don't deserve. That's what I meant to say. It's a franchise that's made by filmmakers for film lovers and movie fans. Heart and soul, blood, sweat, and tears get poured into these movies, and you see them on the screen. Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning is now out in theaters. You can check our review on the channel as we speak. It is up, as well as other reviews. So let's take this time to officially rank the Mission Impossible franchise from worst to best. Nick, I want you to go first just because I did a bunch of rambling.
Oh boy. All right. Are we going shot for shot here? Is that how we're gonna do it?
Oh, like 1 and 1?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do that. That'll be fun.
All right. I would like to point out, so the way we're going to be structuring this is kind of just our least favorite to our most favorite. So 8 to 1. We thought about doing another tier ranking list, as we've done on the channel recently a few times, but then we kind of decided that none of them are really below like an A to a B. Even the worst ones are still great, so we just decided that makes it a little less entertaining. So we're just going to go with this, and I'm going to start off with my number 8, and that is Mission Impossible 2. And I don't dislike this movie upon rewatch as much as I remember hating it. I think you have John Woo behind the director's chair, which is always a great thing to have. I think it's very stylistic. I think it was one of those things where they didn't know where to take it. So they were, these like first 3 are really when they kind of started experimenting, trying to get it, see what they could do with this franchise and what kind of life and viability it had. You get some goofy villains, right? You have Dougray Scott. You get the craziness that is just the motorbike fight, which was really it was a very nice practical stunt. I really liked how they worked all of it. But overall, it just kind of felt like a big, cheesy, overly stylistic mess in the best way possible, but not as good as some of the other entries that come later in the franchise.
That's fair. That's completely fair. I'm going to agree with you. My number 8 is also Mission Impossible 2. It's we first get the long hair Tom Cruise look, which is nice, and we get the him hanging off a cliff, which is always a good time. But I echo
the opening's great with that.
Yeah, I echo every sentiment that you gave about the film. I agree that it's not as bad as I remember, but it's still just the weakest entry due to all the reasons you said. We love John Woo, but sometimes a good coach and a good team don't always work well together, and this is one of those cases where Woo and Mission Impossible just weren't the franchise for each other.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, then coming in for 7th place, I have just the first one, Mission Impossible. It's the one that kicked it all off, and there's nothing wrong with that. But when you look at it, kind of the franchise as a whole, I mean, you have Brian De Palma again the talent of director that these movies have had
Mm-hmm.
acquired, especially the first three, like good lord, um, even actually four too, yeah, um, it's great. It's riddled with split diopter shots, which I love.
Yep.
It's just, but it's so almost over the top and overly convoluted. And to me, the villain in this and two just don't work on a few levels for me. But I think you have great performances. Again, it's moody, it's stylistic in a very different way than every other movie in this franchise. And you get the iconic, obviously, the lowering the wireframe scene, but then
Mm-hmm.
just in comparison to some of the stunt work that goes later on in the franchise, I just can't help but it kinda doesn't age as well, especially, like, the helicopter green screen fight, it is a campy watch at the end of the day, and I do love it, but I put it in 7th personally.
That's fair. That's fair. My seventh place is actually movie number 7, and that is Dead Reckoning Part 1. I
Ooh.
have I have that in seventh place. And again, I don't really dislike any movie in the franchise. I think Dead Reckoning Part 1 has a lot of great things going for it, but it does suffer a lot from what was clearly going to be a certain path that had to be pivoted for the next film, leaving this film in kind of this weird limbo type place of what could have been. And the stunt's amazing, even though they marketed it way too much, but by the time you saw it, it didn't mean a whole lot. But it's one of those things where you can feel the love behind the making of the movie. It just didn't make the best Mission Impossible movie that you wanted to see. It just kind of left you a little bit, it let you down a little bit. And especially coming off of what was the best film, in a while for the franchise, this was, spoiler alert for later, this was clearly just a step down. And while you could see the effort, you could feel the passion. You had COVID, you had strikes, you had a ton of stuff working against the film. And at the end of the day, I think you can feel it a little bit. But again, I don't dislike the film. I don't hate the film. I think it's a good movie. I just think that it's not as good as the sum of its parts, and that it has great moments, but overall the movie falls kind of flat.
Mm. And that is why Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1 is my 6th place.
There you go.
I do agree. I do agree with a lot of the sentiments that you said. I just overall, it just more worked for me. I think there was a lot that I really enjoyed in it. I'm a very easy person to please when it comes to movie stuff. You have the return of Kittredge from
Mm,
Mission Impossible One, and I thought that he had a much better role in Seven than in the first movie, and I loved him in the first movie. But it was just great to see him actually come back in the role. I really enjoyed the addition. I love the dynamic of the cops with Shea Wiggum and I think his last name is Tarzan or his middle name is Greg something, I think is his name, his
mm,
partner. I
mm-hmm.
really liked their dynamic, this sort of cat and mouse game that they had going on, and I really liked just the full dynamic of Luther, of Benji, of Ethan, of course, and I faults. I think the decision ultimately to kill Ilsa was a mistake. I
Mm-hmm.
think Rebecca Ferguson is just absolutely incredible in this franchise, and to me, that was kind of a hindrance. Looking at Dead Reckoning, was just her absence, or Final Reckoning. I'm sorry, just her absence, and I think the entity and I think Gabriel was just a lackluster villain as well. And the entity, I kind of saw where they were going. And you have some great sequences. Like I loved the return of Vanessa Kirby's character. I think it has some of the highs of the franchise, but ultimately, certain things just didn't work. Ultimately, I agree with your sentiment about the stunt being kind of overdeveloped, but I thought the train wreck sequence I really enjoyed, them
Yes.
moving cart to cart. So I think there's a lot more positives for me, especially upon a rewatch. That kind of just gives it a very. I think of everything on this list, Dead Reckoning Part One and Mission Impossible. So my 6th and 7th, I think that they are the closest to like possibly being swapped.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
and
No, that
that's my
makes sense.
6.
That makes sense. And for some of the points you made earlier is the reason why Mission Impossible 1 is my number 6. So
There we go.
the reason why I give it the slight edge over Dead Reckoning Part 1 is because going back to just that movie on its own, without any precedent, the only thing it was based off of a TV series. And taking a TV series turning it into a insane Brian De Palma blockbuster movie is crazy work. Like, that's crazy work. And the whole idea of Ethan losing like his whole team to kind of kick off the movie, is like an insane way to start this journey, especially if you're a fan of the TV show. Because if I'm not mistaken, and I could be wrong about this, so please tell me if I'm wrong about this, I think a lot of the characters that died in the beginning of Mission Impossible were characters, not the same actors, but like were characters on the show. So it was literally kind of taking like this is what you thought you knew, this is what it is, and going and starting this very bold journey. And of course, the iconic thing you mentioned of like him going down in that room. The tension is so real in that scene, and like the way that they play it out and everything. Yes, it gets a little bit cheesy. Yes, the third act is a bit much, but at the end of the day, what they achieved was insane. And I feel like you got to give it some flowers. So that's why Mission Impossible 1 is my number 6 on the ranking.
All right. I like it. I am now going to move into 5. And again, 5 and my number 4, I kind of went back and forth a lot on. But in my 5th place, I am going to put Mission Impossible 3.
Whoa.
Oh, yeah. So,
wow. Okay.
And here's the funny thing about Mission Impossible 3 is it's either at the bottom of everyone's list or in their top 3, And
Not you, it's right in the middle.
I'm going bang right in the middle. I think it has a lot of positives. J.J. Abrams, fantastic. I love Tom Cruise's dynamic with Michelle Monaghan. And for stuff that I liked the idea of Ethan trying to get that life and everything like that, but I kind of almost feel like they overplayed into the rom-com a little too much of it. Like, it felt very much more like have you ever seen the movie Night and Day with Tom Cruise?
Uh-huh.
I love that. It felt like they just made that a more of a Mission Impossible movie than anything. And I think J.J. Abrams is a great director. But overall, though, if we're talking best villains in the franchise, it's in Mission Impossible 3. Philip Seymour Hoffman is absolutely incredible. I liked the idea of the rabbit's foot and us kind of just never knowing what it is up until a certain point.
Mm-hmm.
But it was kind of stuff like that movie, it just felt like that was a true MacGuffin that they didn't even bother MacGuffining, if you will.
Yeah.
Like they kind of just said this is what it is, but then gave you no context of, like, all you knew about the rabbit's foot was Ethan needed it and someone else wanted it. Like, that was kind of it. And I think that kind of just from a story perspective didn't work for me totally. That being said, again, Philip Seymour Hoffman, I cannot overemphasize, is the best Mission Impossible villain. But his death and the ending, I'm not a fan of.
Okay.
And so for that, I think it's right in the middle. And you get the introduction of Benji.
Yeah.
But I think Benji's role and just the character develops so well over the rest of the movies. But I do love just like Benji helps Ethan once, and Ethan's like, I will die for you now. Like, you're just part of this group, Yeah. Which is something that I love about the franchise, is those recurring characters. But I put it right in the middle for me.
No, that's fair. It's fair. It's lower than in my heart, it was going to be, because you'll see where it's at on my list. But yeah. No, it is one that people tend to either really hate or really love, which is an odd thing.
I will say, going into my next one, spoiler alert, I think there is a bit of recency bias that may come into play down the line where that gets flipped, But we'll see.
We'll see. I got you. Number 5 on my list is, speaking of recent, is The Final Reckoning, the movie that is in theaters right now. Again, a movie that I really like. I thought it was very well done. However, it does have some issues, particularly in its first half, even more particularly in its first act, which just really kind of felt like more of an annoyance than anything else. But again, they pivoted from Dead Reckoning Part 1, which does hurt Dead Reckoning Part 1, but I thought was the right choice for this movie. Like, basically making this a completely standalone movie with just some ties to Dead Reckoning and tying it back to the rest of the franchise, I thought was the move to make after Dead Reckoning Part 1. like, because clearly just the audience was not responding the way that they wanted them to with Dead Reckoning Part 1, and I think that they made the right decision, but I think that a lot of the damage had already been done with what they had already tried to achieve, and kind of making that pivot to make this movie work, you could feel the change in direction, and not always for the positive. Now, again, with that being said, if you watch our review of the film, I do like this movie, and I think that the second half is fucking insane. It's insane. But it is a little bit too long, and, watching Tom Cruise almost die is really something. But, it just, while it was a good movie and I did enjoy it, it just didn't have the same magic that the franchise had about 10 years ago. And I think that's kind of where I'm at on it.
Gotcha. That's fair. That's why it is actually my number fourth.
There you go.
I agree. It's a bit too long. I love all the ties to the franchise. I mean, he's in the trailer and poster, but you have so many ties back to the franchise. You have the return of William Dunlow from the first movie, and I really enjoyed how they integrated his character into the story and how it worked in parallel with actually just Ethan's story. This sort of full circle moment I thought worked really well. There's some tie-ins to others movies that I won't spoil, but I agree it's a bit too long. I think the first act kind of suffers because they're trying to not almost undo Dead Reckoning Part 1, but just kind of like make it so you don't really need to watch it. Like, I don't know if I need to rewatch Dead Reckoning Part 1 if I want to throw on Final Reckoning. I feel like I could just throw on Final Reckoning on a rewatch, you know? But I think the scale, the scope, and the story all worked really well for me. There's a lot of some of the highest highs of the franchise, especially when you look at the sort of airplane sequence in it. I mean, that might... If that's not the best stunt in the series, it's top 3 easy.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
You know, it's just absolutely insane, and just the supporting cast is just absolutely stellar. Even so, like, you know, you have the loss of like Rebecca Ferguson, right, and these sort of players that maybe would have been nice additions to it. But I thought I still really enjoyed the supporting cast of characters. Obviously, you have Luther and Benji playing big roles in it as well. And it just, the amount of times I said hell yeah throughout that whole movie, you know, I think, and again, it could be recency bias, but I feel comfortable at fourth. But I think maybe when I do another rewatch in a few years, maybe 3 creeps the edge. Again, that's another one that's kind of like, they might be interchangeable to me to some extent. Yeah. But again, Entity doesn't fully work as a villain. I think Gabriel should have been one and done, especially because they'd never really give more context into his story with Ethan. So I feel like I would have liked a little bit more of that.
Yeah, you could tell part of the pivot was to get away from Gabriel because they clearly had plans to tie it with him and killing the person that was close to Tom Cruise from the flashbacks of Dead Reckoning Part 1. Like, they clearly had like something they were going to do that they abandoned.
And Gabriel's just a completely different villain in this movie.
Yes.
Like, 100%. Totally different performance.
100%. 100%.
But yeah, that is my number 4.
My number 4 is movie number 5, and that is Rogue Nation. I know that this is a lot of people's like favorite movie in the franchise, which is great. This is ripe for a rewatch for me. I haven't watched Rogue Nation in a long time, but the top 4, by the way, these are like next level shit. Like in terms of the franchise for me, like these 4.
We're at a jump now. Yeah.
Yeah. Like these 4 are for me where it's like, oh, when I talk about Mission Impossible and how awesome it is, I'm talking about these 4 movies. And it starts with Rogue Nation, and with number 4. And I think that, you know, first of all, the introduction of the Rebecca Ferguson character, Lisa, one of the best Mission Impossible characters in the whole franchise. Amazing character, and she's incredible in it. She's introduced incredibly. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think this is the Mission Impossible movie where they do like the motorcycle chase, and it is like crazy work with how fast they were driving, because like typically when you do motorcycle stunts and chases with any vehicle, really, you're really driving at like 30 to 45 miles an hour, and the camera just makes it look like it's going fast, but like it's Tom Cruise without a helmet driving like a 90 to 100 miles an hour on a motorcycle. Like, that's absolutely crazy work. It's insane. And the villain in this film I really love, whose name is leaving me. Do you remember the villain's name
in Rogue Nation?
Yeah,
it is
because he comes back in Fallout.
Yeah, it's Solomon Lane.
Yes, excellent villain in this film, and yeah, I love also when he hangs off the plane in the opening scene, that might be one of my favorite Mission Impossible stunts, and I love it kind of like with the second movie as well, because it just happens right in the beginning before any plot. Just like, hey, here's this insane, batshit, crazy thing that Ethan Hunt's gonna do, and it like almost set the tone for the rest of the movie. Like
Yeah,
it
that was
was
a
like
great move.
it was a great move, and I really love this movie. Rogue Nation rules. It's my number 4.
All right. So now moving on to the top three here. And I am going with in number three, third place, Ghost Protocol.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a lot of positives with Ghost Protocol. I think the Burj Khalifa sequence is an all timer. And not even just the sequence of him climbing, but just that whole storyline of the masks and the dual meetings and the flipping the hotel rooms around. Like all of that is just like why I love the franchise. You know, that sequence is just Mission Impossible firing on all cylinders, and you have then Tom Cruise booking it and outrunning a sandstorm. Like just great stuff all around in Ghost Protocol. And you have I mean, where to even begin, right? That's your introduction to Ilsa, isn't it? Or
I thought
she
it.
no,
I thought it was
she's in
Rogue
Rogue
Nation.
Nation. She's
Yeah,
in
yeah.
Rogue Nation. I'm so
Mm-hmm.
sorry. Ghost Protocol is when you get introduced to Jeremy Renner.
Hell yes.
And I really love the Jeremy Renner character, Brandt, who is never referenced in any of the movies post Rogue Nation. But I think he was a great character. You have Leah Seydoux from the James Bond
Yes.
franchise later on. She's great in it. I'm just going through Letterbox now. I mean, so many different things. Um, Paula Patton was the one and done character for this one. But I mean, you have great stunt work with the Burj Khalifa, and every time I kind of watch it, I'm like, man, maybe Ghost Protocol is my favorite. And I
Mm-hmm.
believe that's the one too that ends with is that the one that ends in the car uh fight? Oh no, that's three. Three is
Yeah.
when they did the fight. Oh
Yeah.
man. I watched them all in such succession recently. They're all blending as one movie now.
Yep. Yep.
But Ghost Protocol number 3.
No, and listen, Ghost Protocol is also my number 3. I remember when Ghost Protocol came out. That was the first time in the franchise where it was like, is this the best Mission Impossible movie? And then Rogue Nation came out, and it was like, is this the best Mission Impossible? And then the next one, is this the best? Like it kept happening, even though
Yep.
I was a big fan of the third one, which we'll get into soon. But I love Ghost Protocol. I think that Tom Cruise in this movie almost felt like he had something to prove in a way, because for those that don't know, when Jeremy Renner was brought into the movie, like behind the scenes, the original plan before like Tom Cruise had like a lot of, producing power on these things, is like they were hoping that Jeremy Renner would eventually take over for Tom Cruise as an Ethan Hunt. Like Brandt, like they were introducing Brandt to one day lead this franchise. It's the same thing they were doing with him and Jason Bourne, and both times Jeremy Renner got screwed. But with all that going on, like Tom Cruise really had something to prove, I think, to himself and to executives and to many other people in the movie. And he does an excellent job, and the movie's directed really well by Brad Bird. The Kremlin bombing is insane. It's an insane sequence.
Forgot about the
And
Kremlin bombing in that movie too.
it's crazy, and everything you mentioned with the Burj Khalifa, amazing work. Again, just a solid action movie, and it really revitalized the franchise in a way as well, which is so funny because this was the last movie where each movie would have a different director, because it went De Palma, Wu, Abrams, Bird, and then the rest have just been Christopher McQuarrie. And it was so interesting that this movie breathes so much life into the franchise, and then they still change directors. I just find that so funny. But yeah, Ghost Protocol rules. I'm a big fan. Awesome.
No, it is great. And then coming into number 2, you're kind of going to see a trend here where I go with my top 3, but my number 2 is going to be Rogue Nation. I agree with everything you kind of said before on it. Again, this is when you get a little bit more of Brandt, and I believe a little bit more Alec Baldwin as well. I think he comes in this movie.
Mhm.
And I think it's when you have now Ilsa's second movie, Benji and Luther have been established, Brandt's in the mix. I think you just have all these.
This is Lisa's first movie.
I keep saying that. I'm so sorry.
It's okay. It's okay,
Um,
buddy.
Um, but I think the introduction of Ilsa is fantastic. I love the whole underwater sequence. You're kind of on the edge of your seat. Tom Cruise at the time broke the record for longest underwater breath holding for a movie or something like that. It was
Mm-hmm.
later beat by Kate Winslet for Avatar 2.
Mm-hmm.
You have that amazing opening on the plane, which just immediately sets the tone for your movie. You have the entire motor chase sequence. Solomon Lane is probably the second best villain in the franchise, in my opinion.
Yep.
After that, and that carries over into the next movie as well. But I think that it's just, again, you watch Ghost Protocol and you're just like, man, this is Mission Impossible firing on all cylinders. This might be my favorite. And then you put Rogue Nation on and you're like,
Mm-hmm.
oh man, what was I thinking? It's Rogue Nation. You know, so I think Rogue Nation too is when you get the speech from Alec Baldwin to the Prime Minister that like Ethan Hunt is a shadow. He's a covert op. You will
Yep.
never see if he's and it's just it's so good every time you watch it. And there's a great sequence or a scene it too in the motor chase scene where Tom Cruise's knee scrapes the ground and you can fully see Tom Cruise react and you're like, holy crap, he is actually booking it on this thing. Like that is a pure pain reaction and he just keeps trudging through.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's my number 2.
No. Awesome. Awesome. My number 2, I've alluded to it earlier, is Mission Impossible 3. I love Mission Impossible 3. It has a very special place in my heart. When I first watched it, when I was like years ago, when I was watching the franchise back when there were just 3 movies, I remember watching the first one, really liking it, watching the second one, being like, I was kind of let down. And the third one, is such a tonal departure from the second movie that
It really is.
It's almost like complete whiplash, like watching Mission Impossible 3 after watching Mission Impossible 2. And I love J.J. Abrams as a filmmaker. You know, Super 8 is a highly underrated movie, but his work on this movie is exceptional. The tension, the suspense, the way that it almost used mid-2000s action tropes, but to the advantage of J.J. Abrams' storytelling and Mission Impossible movies, I thought was really well done. There are set pieces in this that are insane. Philip Seymour Hoffman is an amazing villain. Still one of my favorite scenes in a Mission Impossible movie is when Benji is trying to make the voice synthesizer for Tom Cruise when he's impersonating Philip Seymour Hoffman, and it's not ready, and someone comes in and tries to talk to him, so he's like coughing as if he's smoking a cigarette, and he's like trying to stall until it's ready, and then he's able to speak. Like, the tension in that scene is so good, and just Philip Seymour Hoffman playing Tom Cruise, playing Philip Seymour Hoffman, is doing such a good job. Like, he nails it. And again, and the shot, it was in the trailer. God, I'm literally going back to like 2006, but like I remember seeing the trailer for Mission Impossible 3, and it has this shot, and it's a great shot in the movie, and it's when Ethan Hunt is running on like an overpass, and a helicopter shoots at him, and the blast like shoots him into a car, and his arm like breaks the window. It's such a sick shot, and it still looks sick. And I just love this movie. I think it's a great action movie. I think it literally, to me, was one of the things where when you watch this franchise, this was the first one to be like, no, you can do all kinds of things with these movies, including this, and made like this strange, dark spy thriller that I love. I love Mission Impossible 3.
I mean, three is great, and again, Philip Seymour Hoffman, and that was some of the times too where the mask work is just incredible, and the filmmaking behind like switching to the mask and the actual actor was just great. And I do want to clarify from earlier, the parking garage is not Mission Impossible 3; it's Mission Impossible 4.
It is Ghost Protocol. Yeah,
It is Ghost Protocol. Sorry, I was fact checking myself from before there.
No worries.
But no, I do agree, and I think Tom Cruise's chemistry with Michelle Monaghan is awesome as well.
No, for sure.
Which leads us to number 1, which is a movie neither of us has said yet, so I think we are in agreement.
And I think we can do this together. You know,
I think we can too. Yeah.
It's Fallout. It's easily Fallout.
It is Mission Impossible. Fallout is the best Mission Impossible movie.
100%.
Hands down, no argument.
It's so fucking good.
I mean, I don't even know where to begin.
Yeah. And, well, here, I'll tell you where we can begin. We can begin because it also had one of the best movie trailers of all time with the Can't Fight the Friction trailer from Imagine Dragons. That trailer fucking slaps still.
The only time an Imagine Dragons song has been good.
No, false, the opening of Arcane, but I'll allow it.
I haven't seen it.
Still gotta watch it. What's it called? This movie is so goddamn good, and we actually saw it together. I remember seeing it, and both of us, when the movie ended at the same...
Screening.
Yeah. Yes. And both of us, at the same time, when it ended, looked at each other, and we were both like, I think that's the best one. Like we immediately, like from watching it, and my opinion still hasn't changed in the times I've rewatched it as well. Solomon Lane returns again as a great villain. Henry Cavill was great in the movie, and the bathroom fight scene is so fucking good. Like the choreography.
And funny, too. The comedy in Fallout it's when you start to get the Looney Tunesification of the Mission Impossible franchise that carries...
In the best way.
In the best way possible. I mean, the tripping on the blood, the like his nose is bleeding. You have Ilsa again, and the way they integrate all these moving parts into the story just works so well. Henry Cavill just being the brute force, cocking his arms, right, ready to fight. You also have the introduction of Vanessa Kirby as the White Widow, and that whole ballroom dance sequence is fantastic. The tension plays out so well into it. And even more toward the end, just the idea of these acolytes of Solomon Lane is such a great way to carry on the ramifications from his movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, just so much of it works so well. You have the great helicopter fight scene.
Yes.
Toward the end with him and Henry Cavill. You have the return of Michelle Monaghan, which was a crazy reveal and twist that they did not market.
Mm-hmm. And did Angela Bassett...
Angela Bassett she was the CIA director. She was the one that assigns Henry Cavill to go on the mission with them all. And you have more of Alec Baldwin being stuck in like the back for like he becomes the new secretary.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so you have him and Angela Bassett kind of going at it for a bit, just on the mission. You have the absolutely insane helicopter jump.
Yes. Oh, the Halo jump. Oh my god.
Helio jump, sorry.
Amazing stuff.
Just shout out to the camera people as well to pull focus and be able to do that midair. Like that's honestly more impressive than what Tom Cruise was doing.
It was crazy.
It's an incredible sequence. Yeah, I could talk all day about Fallout. I mean, there's just so much to love about it.
On top of it, all the story issues we have with 7 and 8 non-existent in Fallout. The story and the plot flows so well throughout the movie. It's so well done.
It is. No, and the stakes, the way what everyone's doing, right? Because you have Ilsa and Benji going after Solomon. You have Luther and Michelle Monaghan defusing the bomb. You have Ethan having to fight Superman on the side of a cliff. I mean, the way the third act is paced and filmed, so and the tension, the height, it's just all there. And as through every movie, them getting down to point like 2 seconds left on every bomb never gets old for me. You know they're going to defuse. They never do it with like 10 seconds left, you know?
No.
And I love the franchise for that.
Yes, of course. But guys, that is our ranking of the Mission Impossible franchise. What is your ranking? We'd love to see it down in the comments below. Please let us know as we move on to the box office.
The box office.
Something to point out. The numbers are 3-day. We're not doing the holiday numbers, but they're not final 3-day because they don't do the final 3-day until the final 4-day is over. So these are the 3-day estimates, which are going to be really close to the final number. So they're different enough to where I don't think we're going to have like a difference in placement, if that makes sense. So I was not here on the last box office show where you would predict things, so I can't claim victory either way. But pull up yours. What were your predictions from last week?
I don't want to.
Come on, buddy.
I was nervous doing the show alone. And I was nervous to do the box office because you always do the box office.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got panicked. And so I put Mission Impossible, The Final Reckoning, above Lilo and Stitch, which was just a grave mistake. But I think I got 3 through 5 correct with Final Destination, Sinners, and Thunderbolts.
You did get 3 through 5 correct. So excellent job there, my friend. Let's move into it now. Again, I can't see anything, so I'm hoping that by hitting this button, it takes us to the numbers website. I'm going to give it a little bit of a time so I can check the delay on my... It did work. Okay, great. So without further ado, let's dive into this. So Lilo and Stitch came in first, making $145.5 million in its 3-day opening weekend. Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning opened to $64 million. That is, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the highest opening in the franchise. If not, it's close. So either way, great job, Mission Impossible. We're going to get into your fucking ridiculous budget here in a second. Final Destination 6, Bloodlines dropped 53% from week 1 to week 2. Pretty standard. Made $24 million more. Sinners made $11 million in its 6th week, which is crazy. And Thunderbolts made $9.1 million in its 4th week. Sinners still edging over Thunderbolts there. Is crazy work. Crazy. But let's dive into it a little bit more, shall we? Let's bring them all up here. I'm also going to pull up Minecraft to kind of show you where we're at on that. So, Lilo and Stitch now has $341 million in 3 days. That's crazy. It was made on a budget of $100 million. It's already at 3.4 times that budget. So it hit profit yesterday. So good for Lilo and
Stitch 2. Stitch has a glitch incoming.
It'd be crazy if they did that live action.
Or that's 2, right?
I'm pretty sure it's 2.
It's 2, and then it goes into Leroy and Stitch, right?
I believe so. You're really getting into the lore here, buddy. I gotta tell you, I'm not caught up on my Lilo and Stitch lore. But yes, this is crazy numbers. I think it'll be at $500 million by this time next week. Easily. Which is crazy. Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning has $204 million worldwide already. And you might be thinking, oh wow, what an amazing achievement and number for them. For any other movie, that would be fantastic. However, this movie's production budget, not with marketing, production budget was $400 million. Now, it's not entirely their fault. It has to do with the strikes and the delays and COVID and all these things because they were making this movie over a long period of time. And they commit to cinema and do real-life stunts, which are expensive, so we thank them for that. We're not blaming them. However, it's going to make it incredibly fucking hard for your movie to be profitable. Insanely hard. So basically, this movie would have to make like almost $900 million to be profitable, which I don't foresee happening, but it does have $200 million worldwide so far. Let's hope to God it can continue in some way. Final Destination Bloodlines now has $186 million worldwide on a budget of $50, so it's already at 3.7. Profit for Final Destination, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it is already the highest grossing film in the Final Destination franchise. Congratulations to Final Destination. You deserve it. You always deserve the good things that come to you. Sinners now has $338 million worldwide on a budget of $90. It's 3.8 times that budget. It might even get to 4 times the budget total. Love that this movie's making money. I love that it's continuing to make money in theaters even. Can't wait to get the 4K. They did confirm that they will change the IMAX ratio and it will expand. So that's just excellent news for me. Thunderbolts, again, just really underperforming. It only has $355 million worldwide on a budget of $180. It's just under 2 times the budget. Again, it's a real shame. I think this is a really great film. Just too much is coming out now, and that second weekend drop needed to be tight in order for it to stay relevant, and it just was average, and it needed to be better than average. So it's a shame. I think this is a great film. However, let's hope that the positivity of this film will drive more people to see Fantastic Four, and let's hope Fantastic Four can do really well. And lastly, I did want to look at Minecraft. It's at $940 million worldwide right now. And it's 6.3 times the $150 million budget. And I believe this most recent weekend, it made $2.8 million. So yeah, we're at the point where it's not going to get to that billion mark. It's limping to the finish line there. But either way, great job for Warner Brothers in terms of making money there. Let's see if there's anything else worth checking out here. The Accountant 2, why not? It's at just under $100 million worldwide on a budget of $80. Way too expensive for an accountant movie. It's at 1.2 times the budget. It will likely not see profit in theaters, but hopefully it can make some money VOD and with streaming. Nicholas, that was the box office. I don't know if I can. I can't hear you if you've been speaking this whole time. Yeah, I can't hear you at all. It's a shame. But it doesn't matter because we've reached the end of the show, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. I can't see or hear anything at this point, but I know we're still live. So if you can hear me, anyone out there, help us, Only One Kenobi. You're our only hope. Thank you guys so much for watching. And as always, we'll see you on the next show.